Hi, I'm Rob Buckingham. Welcome to Bayside TV. Today on the show we have guest artist Chris Waters, and we look at a topic that a lot of people do but rarely stick to.
A person's diet is made up of the food they eat. If you're only eating unhealthy foods, you're going to have an unhealthy diet. And if you have an unhealthy diet, you'll probably have an unhealthy body. So in the end, is it important to have a healthy diet? Or do people have an unhealthy view of them?
Is diet a dirty word? That's what we're going to be looking at today. Damien Christoph, welcome.
Thanks, Rob.
Just give us a little bit about your background, Damien, first of all.
There's a lot. Oh, look, I started out to be an accountant. That was pretty boring.
Goodness, yes.
Yeah, I wouldn't recommend that to anybody, actually. But so I had someone's got to do it. Then I went on to study to be a nutritionist, a naturopath, then went to be a chiropractor, and since then do a lot of speaking and television. I do television throughout New Zealand and in Australia.
Fabulous. So you've got a lot to bring to the table, as it were, today. Joanne Russell, fitness expert extraordinaire. Welcome.
Thank you.
Good to have you here today. You've been in the fitness industry for many years, haven't you?
Yes, well, I've been in the fitness industry for about 30 years and had several health clubs, still have 7 or 8 of them, and, you know, worked with thousands upon thousands of members, and one of the motivating reasons that people come to the gym is to lose weight, and we look at the diet aspect of that.
Sure. And, of course, Christy B.
Always a pleasure to be with you.
That's good. Let's first of all answer a bit of a personal question. Have you ever been fixated on diet rather than nutrition? Let's go ladies first. What are Joe? Diet rather than nutrition?
Yes, I think in my early days, I was a dancer, and it was all about getting that body, that unrealistic body, and it was all about the diet, and the nutrition was not a focus for me. It was mainly just reduce the calories, just about the calories, without the quality.
Right, OK, so which doesn't lead to health and fitness.
No, it's not the full story.
Ultimately. What about you, Damien?
I've never been focused on diet. In fact, whenever I've done television or been on radio or done whatever, I've continued to preach and speak about the utilisation of proper nutrition as opposed to focusing on a diet, because you know, fads come and go, and you know, nothing's ever really real when you're doing that sort of thing. You don't learn anything. No,
sure, absolutely. And I don't need to ask Christy, but you can give your answer anyway.
I mean, look, I think the thing is, I don't know if you call even Pritikin a fad, but I remember that was probably the only rigid thing that I followed, and I think I followed it because of the health promises that it brought, and certainly, but I got so extreme that I wouldn't eat anybody else's food. So that's not a mind and healthy thing to do.
What about that South Beach diet that was around for a while?
Again,
was that the protein only thing, or am I getting that mixed up?
Very high protein. No, very high protein, but it wasn't protein only like the Atkins is protein only.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was a lot of confusion because you had, obviously there's been different fads all the way through. I think the thing that we're in at the moment, which is, I suppose, being given a term, although it's probably the closest to natural that we've seen in a long time, which is the paleo thing. Everything kind of shoots...
I have not heard of that.
I haven't either.
You've heard of it?
Okay, do tell.
What is it?
Oh, paleo's big. It's kind of eating what we ate 20,000 years ago.
Yes.
Oh, that's what Joe's into. You're into that.
Goodness, wouldn't the food be off by now?
Yeah, it's very well
Not
fermented.
the honey. The honey would still be fine.
The honey would still be good.
They find honey in ancient,
pyramids
and it's still okay.
Paleo.
That's very paleo. This is the thing, and so paleo is eating the things that are natural. And I use the term natural intelligence or naturally intelligent. So foods that are rich in natural intelligence still have the ability to give life, as opposed to having been turned into something else. So if it's been turned into something from being something different, then that wouldn't be considered to be paleo.
Let me ask you, the big fad in the States is the HCG diet. A friend of mine lost 75 kilos on that and has been able to keep it off.
In the States?
In the US, yeah. But it's the homeopathic. They did originally do the injections, but now they did the homeopathic version. Yeah, look, Dr. Cheryl Selman's been championing that throughout Australia, New Zealand and the US, and she's got homeopathic drops with HCG, which is a hormone that the body produces that assists with change and remodelling and those sorts of things within the body. And you combine that with an appropriate eating program, any appropriate eating program, really, with, you know, moving back to primal as much as you can be, primal or paleo if you need to, which is just good food, and you'll get a great result. You probably don't even need the homeopathics. You probably don't. Because if you eat well and exercise well, then you'll get an amazing result, even without the homeopathics. So the homeopathics are kind of a crutch in those sort of things?
Possibly. Possibly, yeah. I don't want to be, you know. Look, they could be good. They could be really helpful, and even from a mindset point of view, it's amazing the power of the mind. You know, if you're dropping something under your tongue and you think it's doing something good for you, it probably is. But if you drop it under your tongue and it's not, and you think it's not doing anything, it's probably not.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's then a mind thing, isn't it?
It's powerful.
So with paleo, just out of interest, seeing as I've not heard of it, just give us an example of what you might eat at a typical paleo meal.
Paleo gatherings.
Yes, that's right.
Well, it's as simple as having a salad with some chicken and maybe some oil over the top, you know, or some nuts and seeds. But many people start the day having a steak, you know, and a steak with vegetables. Many people are doing that. Other people...
So you could do that with the paleo. So you have steak and vegetables for breakfast.
Yeah, you really could.
No grains, and there's not even any
No
legumes, because, you know, I've got a friend who's on it, and I said, oh, well, you can have, you know, the chickpeas and all the beans. There's no chickpeas.
But they've been around for a long time.
So when you take out grains and beans, it leaves you with
lentils
protein.
have certainly been around a long time.
Yes, but they're not in it, so...
Well, here's the thing. Lauren Cordain is the researcher behind all of this, and then there's been a lot of champions that have come off who have studied underneath Lauren Cordain. Rob Wolf, who's probably the most notable guy that's written a book since then, and they found that when they did a lot of anthropological studies, that they didn't find legumes or grains at burial sites where there was people, you know, hunter-gatherer people 20,000 years ago. And so the whole idea was that these people were very, very robust. The reason why they died was because they got eaten by a saber-toothed tiger or they got some chronic infection. Wow. It wasn't because...
Well, at least the saber-toothed tiger ate healthy food.
That's right.
You know that man that was found in the bog, and the bog man, and like he was, you know, several thousand years old? There was lentils in his belly.
Really?
Wow.
Because I did that at school.
That tells you how well they were digested then, doesn't it? Not very well.
That's right.
Not very well.
Still sitting there.
That's
5,000 years later.
That's right.
No, the peat
trying to
bog.
pass them.
Excuse me, in a peat bog in Ireland, you would be, you know, preserved.
Well
pickled,
preserved.
probably.
Yeah.
And so were the lentils, but let's not go there.
That's right.
Let's look at some of the fad diets over the years, things that were big and maybe they were good, or others that were big but proven now to be unpopular for very good reason. What are some of those?
Fit for Life was one of them, wasn't it? You know, there was that one where you start in the morning, have fruit for breakfast, then
didn't combine your fruit
Didn't
foods.
combine your fruits, didn't combine your starches with your proteins.
That's right.
So it was fruit to start the day with, nothing else until you got to a salad.
Any of that?
Not really.
Yeah.
Not really.
So fruit all day till a salad. When would you get the salad?
At lunchtime. You couldn't eat anything like a salad until, you know, really lunchtime, and then you'd have something more robust at dinner time. And that's great for detoxification. You know, really, really good. For a short time, 2 weeks, 3 weeks.
And one of the things that was huge in the 90s was the low-fat revolution. Everyone was like, oh, low-fat, low-fat.
Rosemary.
And... Well, Stanton?
Stanton, maybe, yeah.
Yeah, she did some stuff.
That was huge, and everyone was eating low fat, and there's actually healthy fat and not so healthy fat. And what we've understood today is that we should be putting the healthy fats into our diet, but making good choices on those fats, and the fats that are coming from nuts. You know, nuts got a really bad rap for a while.
Yeah,
the avocados.
Coconut.
Coconut is an amazing superfood, and that fat actually doesn't metabolize into body fat very easily. So if you eat coconut oil and fat...
with coconut milk.
But from the health food shop, you can buy that coconut oil in a jar, and it will not... You can stir fry with it, and it won't put on weight. It'll be burn off.
We're going to continue to unpack this great subject. Is diet a dirty word? After the break, Campbell Vandersloot hits the streets with another edition of Street Talk, so don't go away.
There's so many fad diets going around today, but do they actually work? Do diets work?
Definitely not. I think so many women try so many different diets, and you think you're on the right track, you lose 1 or 2 kilos, hop off the diet and bang, you've stacked it all back on. So no, don't diet, just a little bit of everything in moderation.
No. No.
Why do you think that is?
Because you just go back to eating too much, you binge eat when you're on a diet. They never worked for me anyway, that's all I gotta say.
I'm on one right now. Lost 7 kilos in like 2 weeks. So yeah, they do. Don't eat at night, they work.
What diet is it?
I just don't eat at night.
Do diets work?
No, the best way to go about it is everything in moderation and have a treat every now and again so you don't binge eat on a whole pack of Tim Tams.
Yes and no, it just depends on, I think. Yes, I believe they would do in the long run, but it's not the easiest thing at first.
No. No, they definitely don't work.
Why do you think that is?
Because it's not a short-term solution. You've got to be willing to change your whole lifestyle, not just for a limited time frame, but if you've got a problem with, well, if it's weight that we're talking about for the diet, it's not so much about a short-term fix. It's got to be about a long-term life choice.
Well, I think stress is a better way of dieting. I see a lot of people carving off a lot more weight, stressing about assignments and work rather than trying to diet, but I think it's a balance as well. You know, you've got to eat the right things and eat the wrong things, but not eat too much of one or the other.
Do diets work?
If you combine them with exercise, regular exercise, yeah.
Okay, so you don't believe that diets can work on their own?
No.
A bit of wisdom to finish up there, maybe. What about the stress diet, Joe? Ever been on one of those?
Oh, I feel like I'm on that the whole time, but no, stress is a very negative thing on the body. It's a damaging, forms an acidic environment inside of you, and it certainly isn't a great way to lose weight. I wouldn't recommend it.
Even lose weight. I mean, as for me, I go to the chocolate bar and I sort of...
When you're stressed.
Yeah, when I'm stressed. Yeah. And it's just like, it's this thing of, I better get this, I better eat now because I don't know when I'm going to have the next opportunity to eat. I think boarding school set that up for me, you know, really. And that was really the case back then, you know.
Especially when you went and asked for the second bowl. Please, sir, can I have more? And it kind of all went down.
Got a whipping.
From there.
Portion control.
Yeah, that's another program.
That's right, that's right.
Yeah,
what about stress from your perspective, Damien?
Oh, stress works in two ways. So initially you can lose weight with stress. It's not a healthy loss of weight. It can cause malabsorption because when you stress, you divert blood from your gastrointestinal system. So when you divert blood from the gut, you don't digest and you eliminate faster. And so that's your loss of weight through stress. The long-term effect of stress is that you have a lot of adrenaline and cortisol running through your system, and the cortisol causes you to store fat. So the flip side will be that if you've got extra cortisol or cortisone running through your system as a result of long-term stress, you'll put more weight on, and that's a bad deal.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Yeah. So, diet, does it work? Dieting.
Well, it depends what you're measuring, Rob. So if you're measuring, I just want to lose some weight because I want to slip into my bikini or whatever. Well, my bathing. My bathing's not my bikini.
That's another program as well. Yeah.
That's Saturday nights. So, if your sole purpose is to lose some weight fast, then yes. But if your purpose is to stay healthy and well and to stay in excellent shape for a long term, look at Jo, she's done that, then you're not dieting, you're eating well for your lifestyle.
So is there two ways of looking at it then? You see, because like, once a year I do a spring clean in the house, right?
Yeah.
And then throughout the year I maintain, if something's not working, I switch it around and whatever. So is it like the ideal would be that you, you know, keep a good healthy diet and whatever, and then occasionally you have your little treat if you want to, but then you then go into kind of, you know, sorting mode again. So like say before Christmas, maybe you should do something really disciplined beforehand, so that then you've given yourself some room for the Christmas thing or the special occasion, or does that just not exist?
Well, look, that's the classic yo-yo. That's essentially what that is.
And so classic yo-yo.
Classic yo-yo. So you do it all right.
Extreme though. I'm thinking preparedness, you know, for springtime and harvest.
Banking up some calorie deficits so they can use it later.
Calorie credits. Calorie credits.
Calorie credits.
Yeah. Look, you can certainly do that, and I don't think that's a terribly bad thing to do. I think as long as your mindset is that I want to stay healthy as opposed to I want to fit a size whatever. Yeah. And I think if you're measuring your success by sizes and inches and weight on the scales, then your success is limited to just that, as opposed to the other markers of well-being that we could consider, which would be energy and vitality and vibrance.
And what this guy said about the nighttime thing, I mean, look, okay, I am confused because I thought our body was like a 24-hour clock.
Yeah.
But it's not the first time that I've heard it. I mean, we've heard don't eat carbs at night. Where does that fit in with everything?
Well, you go, Jo.
Look, I say that it's probably best not to eat after about 8 o'clock because we don't want to eat a meal and go to sleep on it. And if you're eating carbohydrates, they tend to store as fat. if there's no exercise to burn them off. So they're great things to have in the first part of the day. There are food groups, and we don't want to drop them out altogether, and they do give us a lot of instant energy. So use them when you want the energy to be awake and alive and to be moving around. But at night time, you don't want them to just turn into body fat. So after about 8 o'clock at night, stop eating, and in your evening meal, try not to have, you know, as many complex carbs. You know,
is it good though to go to bed hungry?
Well,
yeah, because
I mean, just speaking personally.
Well, I was told that carbs actually help you sleep, because then if you have a sleep challenge,
that's true.
That can also affect your weight too. What's that all about?
Yes, well, carbohydrates do feed the brain, and it does help the melatonin to be released and therefore to sleep. So it's a two-edged sword in a way. You've got to find out what's right for you. But I like people to wake up hungry. I say to them, you've got to eat breakfast because that kickstarts your metabolism. And if they say, well, you know, I'm just not hungry, I said, well, you're eating too much the night before. Because if you truly are having a small meal, portion control, in the evening, you will wake up ready for breakfast. And if you're not waking up ready for breakfast, you're eating too much the day before.
Certainly,
is that
or
right?
Too late.
Is that right? Or too late?
Yeah. Well, look, a lot of people actually will eat late at night and go to bed not long after they've just eaten. And the challenge with that is that your body's it should be going into repair mode, not into digestion mode. And so if you're digesting while you're sleeping, you're not resting. And so you can't rest until everything's digested and then absorbed. And so you could digest the whole night through and then wake up in the morning exhausted and still feeling nauseous, you know, because you haven't got rid of all your stuff.
So if you were hungry before you go to bed, what should you eat?
You probably don't need much.
A banana.
Have a drink.
Have a drink? Yeah. Like just water?
Water.
The problem is that with Rob...
I'm always hungry.
Yeah, and so it's like, you know, you're away somewhere, and the whole world revolves around where can we feed Rob? I mean, it's like everything. It's like I pack lunches for the kids. We pack protein bars, we pack nuts.
Nice.
I mean...
Nice. Our kids are sitting in the back of the car going, are we there yet? And I'm sitting in the front driving going, I'm hungry. What can we eat?
If we were to make a plastic doll and you were to press its hand, Rob would go, I'm hungry. And meanwhile, I'm trying to, you know, watch what I eat, which never used to be a thing before I had children. I was like Joe, you know?
Oh, that's a can of worms. Do we want to go into that one? That's,
no.
that takes a little
program on that as well. What do you reckon?
Let's do another program on that. But back to what he said. So you would say...
It's okay to be hungry.
But eat nothing before at night?
You don't need to. You really don't need to. You've already got all the nutrition in. Look, that guy who decided that he was going to skip a meal, drop 30% of his total calorie intake for a whole day by missing a meal, he will lose weight because he's under caloried. He's not
starving himself.
He's starving himself.
But can that be long term? The whole idea is that diets do work. Of course they work. Everyone knows their diet will work and they'll lose weight. But in the long run, 95% of them will put the weight back on, especially if there's no exercise involved, because it changes the way the diet works.
Yeah, and if you're dropping out 30% of your required calories, then you haven't got the nutrients to rebuild your muscle, rebuild your hormones, to entertain satiety, and so he will end up binging. And you know, I don't want to be the bearer of doom and gloom for this fella, but he will end up binging,
so
and he'll turn
that's like
back.
what the other girl said, that the diets end up in a binge. Is that true? It just is the way our body responds?
It's a mindset. So if you feel like you're being kept away, deprived, if you're in jail, the only thing you want to do is get out. And so in this case, they're being jailed or kept away from the foods that they'd really love to eat. They haven't found a way to actually bring those foods that they love to eat into a healthy lifestyle. So if they could bring a healthy lifestyle to the table and then have other little bits and pieces, I say 80-20, because that gives you 3 meals a week to muck around with, and the rest of it is fantastic, then you're going to be all right.
Yeah. So this is part of us looking for a quick fix in our society, really, isn't it? It's like everything's got to be quick, everything's got to be instant, we want it now, pay for it later.
Yeah, it's paracetamol syndrome. Everyone wants a quick fix, you know. The reason for your headache's not a deficiency in paracetamol, I guarantee it. And, you know, the reason why you got a joint inflammation is not because you're deficient in Nurofen. What I'm saying is that you've got a problem, so you want to sort it out, and if you want a quick fix, then you take those drugs. Those drugs will bring about a quick fix, but the problem's still there.
That's right.
And a diet's a quick fix.
Okay, so as we wrap up, what's an ongoing healthy lifestyle? Damien, first of all.
Protein, fat, carbohydrate with every single meal, that's crucial. And then water is your primary source of hydration.
Okay, sensational. Joe?
Eating less processed foods and small portions.
All right, portion control. The portion police.
Yes, that's what my husband calls me.
Christy B?
I would absolutely say everything they say is true.
Okay.
Just listen to them and you'll be okay.
Brilliant. Fantastic. After the break, we have guest artist Chris Waters performing, which I know you're going to enjoy. Welcome back to Bayside TV. I want to thank my guests today, Damien Christoph.
Thank you, Rob.
Joanne Russell.
Thanks, Rob.
And, of course, Christy V.
Great show, loved it.
Been wonderful. And now performing Midnight Conversations from his album The Hill, here is Chris Waters.
Sweet and kind, I've come to speak to you tonight. I'll take my time. I know you love to wait, so I can find you. Great, divine, I've come to worship you tonight. I'll lay down my pride. I know it hurts to learn sometimes when I slumber. Could you watch over me and silence the thunder? When I slumber, could you watch over me and silence the thunder inside? When I slumber, could you watch over me and silence